ZBrush has a really cool texturing solution they call polypainting. Essentially, polypainting means that every single point has a vertex. So here we have 2.7 million polys active, meaning we have 2.7 million points to color.
So each point is kind of like its own pixel, if you will.
That's essentially it. And this is a really cool system because we can very quickly block something in. We don't need UVs for this to work. And it's just a fun process. Keep in mind though that ZBrush is not a professional grade texturing tool. If you want to do the more hardcore texturing, you have to use something like Substance or Mari, Quixel, or the likes. But it's really good for hand painting.
Yeah, it's good for stylized textures that don't require that much realism or blocking in colors. It's really handy for that.
Exactly. So the way we polypaint here is that we select a color and we go to Color and Fill Object. Before that, we have to enable RGB. Make sure RGB is to 100%.
And also, just a quick note that mRGB is not enabled.
Yeah.
Because that'll sort of fill your model with your color and the currently selected material.
That's really bad.
It'll bake in the material itself.
We really want to make sure only RGB is on. Also, the intensity of the RGB, that's like the opacity. So 100%, we'll flood it 100%. So Color and Fill Object. And now you can see that now is filled with a color.
The reason the other subtools were also changing is because they're being previewed with the color that's currently on, whereas the selected subtool doesn't get the preview for some reason.
So now we can just start to paint. We paint using the standard brush. You can paint with any brush, but the standard brush is pretty decent. Make sure that C-add is off.
You don't want C-add or C-sub because then you're actually affecting... So you're displacing the model.
You can see what happens here. Now we're actually sculpting while we're painting. That can be cool for certain cases.
Because you're painting veins at the same time as you're sculpting them?
Yeah, exactly. So then the veins are going to be exactly where the texture is. But we don't want that for most cases. So what we're going to do is, we're just going to disable C-add, make sure RGB is on, and now we can just select the color. And this also works with symmetry, which is really cool. Hold down the Shift key just to snap it, Shift right mouse button to snap it. And now we can just start to paint. The S key to change the brush size. And we can just paint. And this works with symmetry, which is really useful.
This is a really quick way to just block in some colors.
Yeah.
And also if you're presenting, let's say you're doing some sort of speed sculpt, you just want to quickly fill in some colors, some black and white, whatever you want on your model. You can do it really quickly.
This is a very quick system. A quick hotkey is the C key. The C key is essentially a color picker key. So you can see what happens when you hit the C and hover over something. So let's say I want to paint out, I want the lips to be red, but I don't want to bleed over here. I can just hit the C key on a neutral color, make the brush size small, and now I can just paint it away.
Fun fact, you can color pick anything in the ZBrush UI, anywhere, at all times. For some reason.
If you want to have the alternate button color. Don't know how that's useful, but it might be.
Another cool thing you can do is you can add alphas to your brushes. So that it works exactly like any other brush would with C-add or C-sub on, except now you're just using an alpha for color. You could drag alphas out on it. You can use the spray to spray it all over the mesh.
This is really useful. So here we can go, before we used only spray. The reason we didn't use color spray is because color spray is if you're doing color. It's going to add some hue variation to it. Let's just add a bit of alpha 7 or alpha 8. So now we can just paint it out and you get this scattered result with slightly different hues.
So the way the color spray works is that it blends between the primary and secondary color. You can see we have two colors under our color palette. So if we change that to whatever, it's going to blend between those colors. Let's try to do something more extreme, like maybe a green and a pink or something. And then you can see it really starts to kick off.
Oh yeah,
that's just disgusting.
Thank you, Martin.
It was like in a paintball accident or something.
The way I work when I do texturing like this is I stick to color spray or just spray, and I just spray colors down quickly. My workflow is just get something down very quickly. Don't worry about it looking too nice initially, and just get some just get something down.
Especially when you're doing something like faces, right?
Yeah.
You just get a lot of quick variation in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we really recommend is that you don't use one of these weird matte caps when you're working, because you can see it's really hard to preview what does the color actually look like. Something like the Skin Shader 4 is just, it's really nice because it's very neutral, it's very white, so it really gives you a clearer representation of what your model looks like.
Compare this to, like, this is one of our custom matte caps, but compare this to this stuff. Like, you don't know at all what your diffuse color is. So keep in mind that you want to preview this with the most neutral matte cap you can possibly have. One matte cap I use a lot for sculpting is like one of these guys, and it looks really nice. The problem is it's tinted towards blue. You can't have that. I can't have it tinted towards blue here, because that's gonna screw up my entire texture. So this is pretty much polypainting. It's very simple. You just literally use standard brush. You fill in everything with a color. You set the RGB value to what you want, and then you just paint.
A really quick note is that, like with the layers, it's really important that you work on the highest subdivision level you want to go to, because, like we're mentioning, it's painting based on the available points. So if you paint on a low-res mesh and then you decide, whoops, I need more resolution, and you start subdividing, it's actually going to mess up your painting, because then the point order goes completely haywire, and then your paint just looks really weird.
Then it might average something like, you're painting on 200,000 polys, and it might have to like mathematically average that up to like 6 million polys. So it's like uppressing like a picture in Photoshop, just in a crazy way. So it can't really do that. So keep in mind, please be on the highest subdivision level when you're doing this.
And like with most other things in ZBrush, this can also be used with masking. So you specifically only want to target one area, and you don't want to touch anything else. Then mask something, and then start painting.
So Control-click just to mask something out. We can invert it, and we want really red area around.
You just invert it by Control-clicking in the viewport.
Very simple. And now we can go boom, and then he got really nice eyes.
Aw, lovely.
And this will make this less scary. We can. I'm not sure if that made them less scary.
No, I don't know.
So we can also just click this paint icon here, just to disable the polypainting. This is really useful. So as we said, polypainting is a powerful tool. It's really nice for blocking something out. It's really cool for getting a base down, and for concepting and just improving upon your work. It's very useful. And you can export, if you have UVs on your model, you can export this out into different software such as Max, Maya, Modo, etc.
Yeah, and it comes out as a default texture, render, bam.
Bam.